Imagine you're driving to work and a police officer pulls you over. You look at the police officer and ask him why he pulled you over, and he simply says, because of the color of your skin. Now, the officer wouldn't actually say this, but in reality, this is what's happening nationwide. People are being profiled based on their race and ethnicity. So today we're going to talk about how racial profiling has infected our culture, specifically in the context of traffic stops and in the court case of Trayvon Martin. But to avoid confusion, I'm going to define racial profiling first. According to the American Civil Liberty Union, racial profiling is the discriminatory practice by law enforcement officials of targeting individuals for suspicion based on the individual's race, ethnicity, religion, or national origin. In 2005, the U.S. Department of Labor's Bureau of Justice Statistics reported that traffic stops were not uniform depending on race and ethnicity. In 2015, the Hartford Courant did a similar study just to have a more recent study versus 2005, and it yielded virtually the same results. And the results are as followed. Black drivers were twice as likely than white drivers to be pulled over in the first place. Hispanics were more likely to get a ticket than white or black drivers, and white drivers were more likely to get a verbal warning than black and white drivers. Another study was done by civilrights.org in Volusia County, Florida, and on a particular highway, 70% of the people being pulled over were either black drivers or Hispanic drivers. Now this is already a stunning statistic, it's just a very, very high number, but if we look closer, it gets even a higher number because only 5% of the people driving on this particular highway were African American or Hispanic. So it's just crazy because even with this 5%, still 70% of the people being pulled over were black or Hispanic. And I think it's easy to see why this isn't equal and why action must be taken in order for this to stop. Now, racial profiling isn't only seen in the context of traffic control. We can also see it in court cases, like, for example, the court case of Trayvon Martin. Now, Trayvon Martin was a 17-year-old African-American student who lived in Florida with his mother, according to CNN.com. Zimmerman was a white neighborhood watch captain in the same area as Martin. Now, Zimmerman reported a suspicious person, not suspicious activity. We need to realize why this so strongly reveals racial profiling, because he did not report the activity of the person, but he reported the person. Now, Zimmerman did acknowledge that he shot Martin, claiming that it was in self-defense. But contrary to this self-defense statement, ABC News actually states that Zimmerman was following Martin. He stepped out of his car and started to follow Martin. Now my question is, how is it considered self-defense by Zimmerman if Zimmerman was following Martin? There's a disconnect, it just doesn't make sense. We also need to keep in mind that according to USA Today, Martin was unarmed. So why is this kind of brute force and lethal force necessary when Martin wasn't even armed in the first place? We need to realize that the importance of this, that a 17-year-old boy that day was killed, and he did not need to be killed. He had a whole life in front of him. Think about the parents, think about how much they had to grieve over this, considering it was the only child they have to take care of. And this is just unbelievable, unacceptable, and action must be taken. So now what do we do with this? Well, first of all, a federal mandate must be enacted to forbid racial profiling, specifically in the context of traffic stops, for a start at least. Now, according to theconstitution.com, just putting another law down isn't going to do its justice because, according to the Constitution, we already have a law saying that all races and ethnicities need to be treated with equality. But as we can see from the examples and statistics I've given, this is not what is happening in real life. So, along with this new federal mandate being enacted, all law enforcement officials need to be trained in order to have an unbiased and fair outlook across these different races and ethnicities. And according to Reformer.com, there's a Vermont Partnership for Fairness and Diversity that offers bias-free police training at law enforcement agencies around the state. Now the thing is, with this agency, it is not necessarily required by all police officers to go through this training. And what we need to do is we need to make it required nationwide to have to be trained under this bias-free and fair outlook. Then we're going to see a huge decrease in the amount of racial profiling. Even though it won't completely eliminate it, it will greatly alleviate it. In conclusion, there must be a federal mandate enacted forbidding racial profiling, specifically in the context of traffic control. Along with this, police officers need to be trained in order to have a fair outlook across these races and ethnicities, so they can treat these races and ethnicities with equality. Racial profiling is much too prevalent in our society, and action must be taken in order for change to occur. According to WSJ.com, racial profiling may try to tighten up security and save lives, but in reality, it's only depriving us of our freedom and our liberty. Thank you.